Thanks, Brett. So, we're sitting here and we're getting a really sort of a sober view of what's out there. I mean, Andy, who is really a treasure here, who's financing and backing local companies, says there's not enough capital. We have all of us, which are basically saying that we really got to get back to the business model. That the sort of the dot-com era of the green age has sort of come and gone already. We know it's important, and we've sort of lost I feel like there's been a little bit of, so much luster has been gone from the space that we really need to come back to the fundamental question is, where do we really need to go with our environment? Where do we really need to go with our investing? And ultimately, isn't that ultimately where the investment opportunity is going to be, if in fact the phenomena of fossil fuels, the effect on the environment, and a better, healthier lifestyle is what we're seeking. So I just want to really emphasize that while this is, somewhat of a sober sort of presentation, that we have to keep that in mind. And the next question goes to Ed. Ed is a prolific writer for the Los Angeles Times and really writes about what's going on out there nationally. And I want to ask Ed, where do you see the prospects, or in the public markets, where do you see the analysts and the Wall Street firms eyeing companies and industries that might have application to LA and the local entrepreneurs here?
The local thing.
It's a local thing.
The way I look at the local question is that LA shares the same needs in regard to the environment and energy issues as the rest of the nation and the world, frankly. I wanted to add something that Bill was reminding me of to the discussion of catalysts that I made a little earlier tonight. Catalysts that are going to push, that are going to give new energy to the renewable energy business. And one of the obvious things, and I know that someone would say it if I wasn't going to say it, but let me be the one to say it first. Oil is not going to stay at $48 a barrel forever. I think that when it's low, the thing about oil prices, it always seems, I think we're under the illusion that the price we're dealing with is a permanent or long-term price. And I think that's what we seem to all believe, or the media believed, when oil was $140 a barrel, and Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, as some of you may know, put out a very public report saying that oil was going to go up to $200 a barrel. Instead, it now declined to a third of its price of 4 months ago, or 4.5 months ago. Anyways, I think that this low commodity price situation that is part of what is what is drawing the capital out of the green industry is a temporary phenomenon. I think that look at these stimulus packages. It's not only the U.S. huge stimulus package that's coming, but China is preparing its own stimulus package for 15% of GDP. And if these stimulus packages perform their purposes, then these economies recover. And what happens then is that oil goes way up. If the stimulus packages are successful, oil goes way up. And that, of course, is good for renewable energy and green industry. So that's another catalyst. As far as what Wall Street might get excited about later, not immediately, but later, what are the needs, what are the industries that might grow in this field? I just want to echo what Sandra was saying about the needs. There are tremendous needs out there right now. There isn't the capital to invest in their solutions, but eventually the solutions will have to be built. And one of them, just to throw one out, is transmission, big large-scale transmission infrastructure for renewable energy sources, because solar in large scale is sited in the desert, and wind in large scale, for instance, is sited in the plains. Unlike coal plants tend to be sited near population, near civilization, and they don't require as expansive a network of transmission. But anyways, U.S. is very impoverished in grid transmission, long-distance transmission. I think it's going to be a huge investment theme, and it's going to make renewable energy possible. Another way to look at that issue, bringing in the political element, unlike the current administration that's on its way out, this administration that's coming in Congress and in the White House are very aware of the global warming problem created by coal, and coal accounts for 50% of the United States electricity production, and it's really the greatest contributor to climate change around the world. That's 50%. 20% of U.S. electricity is generated by nuclear. Obama doesn't like nuclear. He doesn't, in his public statements, he doesn't necessarily hate it, but he is lukewarm in terms of policy and supporting energy sources. He's very lukewarm about nuclear, and he's actually anti-coal. So that's 70% of the U.S. electricity supply. So to the degree that politics decides where investment is placed, there's going to have to be new sources of energy, right?
Yeah, just a comment about, I always hear, I give investment talks, and someone always puts up their hand and, what about nuclear? Because it's, it is carbon free. And, some important facts about nuclear: it takes about between 10 and 20 years to build a plant. The only way to build it is it's got to be heavily subsidized. By the time you'd spend 10 or 20 years building the plant, you can build a massive amount of solar farms and wind farms, where those things you can start generating electricity in 6 or 8 months in small pods, small quantities, where if you're building a coal or nuclear plant, you've got to wait till the whole thing's done before it's fired up. So there's huge advantages to wind and solar right now, and that's really key. And just a comment about oil too. I mean, we're only paying $2 at the pump, but there's about probably $1.50 or $2 being subsidized in there, because what doesn't get added on is, say, the cost of security in the Middle East. We're going to spend probably ultimately about $1 trillion in Iraq. And if you added those costs on, also carbon costs that we've essentially pushed off to future generations because we've got global warming, but our kids are going to have to deal with it. So we're just not paying it today at the pump, but it's being subsidized by our kids and by the federal deficit. So once those costs really come up to true value, we're going through a little slump right now because those costs aren't added on, but they will be eventually. So you can count on these clean tech solutions coming on in a big way in the future, because those subsidies, and they got to be eliminated because they're just not helping us.